Let's begin with the latest updates coming in on what's happening in Karnataka. Sources telling us within the Congress that if there's going to be any change in the Karnataka Chief Minister, then the next obvious choice is DK Shivakumar, that there is essentially no third contender in the Karnataka CM race. Now, why is this clarification needed? Because amid the Siddaramaiah versus DK Shivakumar fight, there have been other voices, other veteran Congress leaders who've also quietly put their hand up, saying, I'm also in the running to be the Chief Minister. So far, there's no decision by the Congress High Command. The pros and cons of both netas reportedly are being weighed out, but they've said it's only a question of whether it's between Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar. I play out for you what Home Minister of Karnataka, G. Parameswara, said just a couple of days ago when he went ahead and claimed he's also in the race.
ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ರೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ಕಣ್ರಿ, ಅದೇನೋ ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿಚಾರ ನೋಡಿ. ಈಗ 2013ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಪ್ರದೇಶ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸಮಿತಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ. ಸರ್ಕಾರ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ವಿ. ನಾನೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ, ನಾನೊಬ್ಬನೇ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ತಂದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ. ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಪಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಜನ ಓಟ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು, ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಗೆಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಪರಾಭವಗೊಂಡೆ. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನಾನು ಗೆದ್ದಿದ್ದರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವತ್ತು ಹೌದು ರೇಸಲ್ಲಿದ್ದರೆ ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರದೇಶ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಸಮಿತಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ, PCC ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಕೆಲವು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅದು.
And let's get you all of the updates that have come in from Karnataka. Last 24 hours, again, you've had statements from Siddaramaiah, from DK Shivakumar, each of them maintaining that, look, the High Command will decide while they continue their power games. And the reality is that there's been no decision from the High Command. While they say it's only a question of Siddaramaiah versus DK Shivakumar, what has stopped the High Command from so far just taking a stand and ending the suspense, saying, look, Siddaramaiah will continue as the Chief Minister, or that DK Shivakumar will take over? They've refused to so far come out with any clarity. And then the question comes up of who really is the High Command. Because every time Mallikarjun Kharge, who is the Congress chief, has been asked this question, he says, I can't take a decision, the High Command will. All of this leading to endless confusion in Karnataka.
The High Command will decide. That is the new mantra in Karnataka Congress. Except when even the party president repeats it, the mantra starts sounding less like discipline and more like a security blanket.
ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಯಾವ ವಿಷಯ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ನಾನು ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ವಿನಂತಿ ಅಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಏನಿರೋದು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ.
The unease is thick as Karnataka's CM Nataka turns into a multi-layered drama. A third batch of MLAs from the DK Shivakumar camp has now flown to Delhi to meet the very high command. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah insists that he and Shivakumar will obey the high command.
ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಏನು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಿಮವಾಗಿ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ನಾನು ಒಪ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, DK ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಒಪ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. 4-5 ತಿಂಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ರೀಸಫಲ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಈಗ 5 ತಿಂಗಳಿಂದೆ.
We all have to respect whatever the Honorable Chief Minister is telling. We have to respect. We all have to respect the High Command. There is no confusion in me at all. Anything is there, it is between me and the party High Command, and we will sort it out. Anything is there. As on today, there is nothing is there.
And then there's the Parameswara twist. A day after a closed-door meeting at the Chief Minister's residence, he openly pitched himself for the top job. The opposition is having a field day. The BJP and JDS are asking the uncomfortable question. If not Kharge, then who exactly is the High Command? Meanwhile, politics also met fate. In Haveri, a supporter performed a whip ritual for Shivakumar to become the Chief Minister. A sadhu from Kashi even blessed him at his residence.
सभी का आशीर्वाद। कहाँ से? काशी से। काशी से क्या बोल दिया उसको? आशीर्वाद है समझो, और क्या है, सभी के लिए आशीर्वाद हमारा। क्या आशीर्वाद है? सब अच्छे रहे, परिवार अच्छे रहे, CM बने, बड़े आदमी बने, बाबा गॉड।
And the BJP isn't missing a beat. Mocking Shivakumar with an astrology swipe, asking a parrot to predict when he'll finally wear the crown. At the end of it all, the bigger question right now, seemingly, isn't who will be the chief minister. It is where is the high command and why the radio silence. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me on this broadcast now is Nikhil Jain, political consultant and advocate. We also have Surabhi Harigiri, spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. Thank you both for your time. Nikhil, I'd like to begin with you because what we're seeing essentially is, power games non-stop, a merry-go-round, if you will, in Karnataka. What's stopping the High Command, Nikhil, from taking a call? But let me start with who is the High Command for the Congress?
Akshita, I think the High Command in the Congress is a collective decision-making body that consists of the chairperson of the Parliamentary Board and former president of the party, Sonia Gandhi, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, and the former president, Rahul Gandhi. Also, the president of the party currently and the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, the General Secretary Organization, K.C. Nandgopal, and the General Secretary in charge for the concerned state, which in this case would be Randeep Surjewala.
Okay.
Because I've grown up understanding that High Command in the Congress party is a collective body that represents the national leadership. And it's not a one-man show or a two-man show like in the BJP where it's just Amit Shah and Narendra Modi. So I feel it's a collective body. There will be consultations and they would decide how to go.
Fair enough. But the challenge is, Nikhil, where's the consultation? How many days has this been going on for? A week plus? It's been at least a week now of non-stop comments coming in, all of this bickering, very public statements. So then why isn't the High Command then getting together and discussing what needs to be done? Where's the prompt decision?
Akshata, I'm sure that the High Command and the leadership of the party are discussing between themselves, but these are not things that would be, put out in the media. And we have the two primary contenders for the post, the supposed primary contenders, D.K. Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah. Both have come out and said that it is for the High Command to decide.
They're putting out everything in the media, by the way.
No, they may be talking about the fact that there are certainly MLAs from either camps, and in fact, multiple camps, more camps than the two themselves, who want their leader to be the chief minister of the state, and that's perfectly fine in a democratic party and a democratic setup. One of my very close friends from Karnataka wants Priyank Kharge to be the chief minister. I'm sure there are many who want B.K. Hari Prasad. There is somebody who might want Satish Arkeoli. Somebody might want Dinesh Gundurao.
But that's why it's imperative. But that's the point, Nikhil. That's why it's imperative for the High Command to take a pick and say, look, he is the one. There's no question of anyone else coming in to be the chief minister. You can want who you want. But we have taken our pick and this is it. And they've not come out with that decision. Let me also bring in Surabhi right now. I'll bring in Surabhi, Nikhil, before I give you a chance to respond. Surabhi, go ahead. What do you make of what's happening in Karnataka right now? Look, the Congress says there's a high command. They will take a decision. Ultimately, when you look at it, you still have a chief minister. Siddaramaiah isn't going anywhere.
The casual attitude with which Nikhil very respectfully explained the situation was like, it's just another conversation. It's just something that's happening. Nothing for us to break our heads about. Ever since this government came to power, 2.5 years, this has been like an OTT serial that's been going on and on and on, taking up media attention, public time, and worst of all, government ministers' mind space. It has taken people away from governance, from pressing issues of governance, and made it into, the Congress party as well as this Congress government's main role has been curtailing factionalism. Factionalism that has gotten so bad that an RCB stampede happened and people lost their lives because the CM and DCM could not communicate with each other. A factionalism that has led to unfair fund release for across Karnataka, especially accentuating the differences between North Karnataka and South Karnataka. Governance failure that has led to many infrastructure projects being stopped or halted. This is the result of factionalism. This 2.5 years, November Kranti, that's all we've been speaking about for the last 2.5 years.
Nikhil, ultimately,
this is not some small decision. This is not something that we are just, please, I request you, think about Kannadigas, the Bengalurians, the Karnataka people who have been having to deal with this lack of decisiveness within the Congress.
Ultimately, from what Surabhi is saying, Nikhil, this isn't a good look. It's not a good look for the Karnataka Congress. It's not a good look for the government. It looks like, they've got priorities elsewhere. Governance is not the top priority because they're busy figuring out, who should be the chief minister.
Akshita, so my friend from the BJP pointed out that I presented the facts in a manner as if nothing to do much about it, and I was being very nonchalant about it. I indeed was being nonchalant about it, and the simple reason for that is that whatever infighting or not, whatever campbazi or not is happening in Karnataka, the governance is on point. The government has announced a new IT city to be developed on the outskirts of Bengaluru. Over 115 MOUs have been signed in the past 2 years, bringing in, or at least bringing in, a promise of over 6.5 lakh crore worth of investments. The Grow Jyoti scheme has been implemented. Women are being given free bus rides. A whole number of measures are being taken by the government towards social and welfare, as well as development and infrastructure. And that is what a government should be focusing on. The politicians can keep on fighting about whatever kursi they want, but the government should run. And in the case of Karnataka, that is running fabulously. And since I have the pleasure of sharing the panel with somebody from the BJP, might I just ask her, what is the environment minister of the country doing right now when I am living in a gas chamber in Delhi, and Akshita as well? What is the education minister of the country doing right now when there are so many paper leaks happening in the country?
Yeah, please come
they've
in.
been
I'd
in
like to
Bihar for
respond
2
to that.
months.
Thank you so much.
What happened with governance there?
Okay. Surabhi, just taking forward what Nikhil's saying, give us examples. You say, there's misgovernance. Give us examples of it. Why do you say that?
I appreciate pushing the conversation from Karnataka to Delhi. That's exactly what the Congress has also been trying to, deciding this chief minister of Karnataka, not in Karnataka, but in Delhi. But the conversation today is about Karnataka. It's about Bengaluru. It's about North Karnataka. It's about Uttar Karnataka, all of these different regions. It is not me, Akshita. It is the Congress MLAs who have come out and said that we have not been given development funds. It is the Congress MLAs who are accusing the housing minister of having corruption in his own department. It is the chief minister's economic advisor who said there is a 400 crore sand mining scam. It is the economic advisor of the chief minister who said that the finance of the state is falling apart. It's not me. It's not the BJP. The fact that, daylight robbery of 7.5 crore happened in Bengaluru just a few days ago. A dacoit incident happened in the middle of Bengaluru, and the minister in charge is nowhere to be seen. He is meeting Naga sadhus, meeting people in order to get his CM chair confirmed. This is what the public is saying. This is not what the BJP is saying. Okay. Look, as an opposition party, it matters very less to me who's going to be the chief minister from the Congress party. All we ask is that make up your mind, decide. Have you decided on a 2.5 years?
Nikhil's final response.
Let us know what it is. Let us know who the chief minister is going to be for the next 5 years. Let's put an end to this. Go on with our work.
Nikhil, final response. Final response. Why can't the High Command pick one leader? What is the challenge?
I really don't understand that. It should be forgetting the fact that Karnataka already has a chief minister. It's not like the state is without a chief minister. Siddaramaiah is the chief minister. If indeed that be a change in the chief minister, you still have the entire government running, and I can give out a list of 10 different things that the government is doing, right? I will nowhere claim that there is no crime happening in Karnataka or no scam is happening in Karnataka. Of course there are, and they are being tackled. You mentioned about the RCB stampede, and do you remember what happened after that? Heads did roll. The commissioner was sacked. Multiple people were taken to task. An SIT was not an SIT, but a probe committee was set up, and all of those actions came into play. But what happened when a similar stampede happened in Uttar Pradesh? The government tried to suppress it. See, I will nowhere say that any government is running perfectly. The entire point is that is the government doing enough? Can they do a better job? And what I see in Karnataka is that the government is running fairly well enough. Of course, they can do a better job, but there's always scope for improvement everywhere.
If the tables were turned. If the tables were turned, Nikhil, and we were seeing this confusion play out in the BJP, I wonder if you would have been far more critical of what's happening.
On that note, can I 10 seconds?
Surabhi,
On that note, 10 seconds.
And it's very easy to say.
10 seconds. I'll come to you. Let Surabhi finish. Yeah.
I'm making a very fair point, Nikhil. As an opposition party, I'm saying that, look, it is not my meat for me to bother who becomes the chief minister from the Congress camp. But as a citizen of Karnataka, as a resident of Bengaluru, it is absolutely my problem to be stuck between this infighting and not have access to absolutely good governance. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to...
Okay, Nikhil, final 10 seconds, Nikhil.
That's going to go.
And Surabhi, I'm glad that you have the space to voice your concern as a concerned citizen, and I'm sure you get a good decision. I will not call you an anti-national or anti-Hindu for saying DK Shivakumar was meeting Naga.
Why does this conversation have to go to inane places?
No.
I don't understand.
I'll tell you why. Because this is exactly what I heard from the BJP.
I will. Time out. I'm wrapping this up. You've heard from both sides here. Ultimately, look. Chief Minister at this point of Karnataka remains Siddaramaiah. But with this constant tussle, is it a good look for the Congress? Not really, because the High Command is yet to take a pick. Sure, it's not one person, as Nikhil says. Sure, it's a group of leaders, of veterans who've been a part of the Congress, and yet there's been no pick, really. Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, Surabhi, for joining us here on this broadcast with your views of what's really playing out in Karnataka. I suspect that this is easily going to continue for the next few days as well. So we look forward to having you in our broadcasts going forward.
श्री रामचंद्र कृपालु भज मन हरन भव भय दारुणम नव कंज लोचन कंज मुख कर कंज पद
historic moment in Ayodhya, in Ramnagri today, as Prime Minister Modi hoisted this sacred saffron flag atop the Ram Mandir, marking the completion of the temple after centuries of devotion and wait for devotees. If you missed out on the ceremony today, we've got you covered with this report.
शब्द भी सहना होगा। पहली चुनौती ये होगी कि मर्यादा में रहना हो। मर्यादा में रहना कुछ खास नहीं कर जाना है। पत्ता को गले लगाना है और अहंकार जलाना है। अपने राम लला के खातिर इतना ना कर पाओगे, शबरी का जूता खाओगे तो पुरुषोत्तम कहलाओगे। काम क्रोध के भीतर रहकर तुमको शीतल बनना होगा। बुद्ध में जिसकी छांव में थे ऐसा पीपल बनना होगा सब कुछ प्यारे, वो भी शून्य में रहकर प्यारे। तब तुमको पता चलेगा कितने अद्भुत राम हमारे।
हरे ओम
From the crack of dawn, the sacred chants of Jai Shri Ram resonated across Ayodhya as the city prepared for a historic moment, the Dhwaja Rohan, the hoisting of the flag atop the Ram Mandir. After centuries of devotion, decades of anticipation, and years of meticulous construction, the Ram Mandir now stands complete. A testament to faith, perseverance, and India's cultural legacy. At 10 a.m., Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed in Ramnagri, greeted by throngs of devotees before reaching the heart of the temple complex. The Prime Minister offered prayers at the Sapt Mandir of 7 revered rishis, the Sheshavtar Mandir of Lord Lakshman, the Mata Annapurna Mandir of the deity of food and nourishment, followed by the Ram Darbar of the court of Lord Ram, and finally the Garbhagriha of Ram Lalla. In a moment steeped in devotion, the Prime Minister, along with RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat, performed Aarti and special prayers at the Garbhagriha. And then history unfolded. The sacred saffron Dharma Dwaj, 10 feet high, 22 feet long, adorned with the radiant sun, Om, and the Kovidar tree, was hoisted atop the Ram Mandir. As the flag soared, Prime Minister Modi got emotional, his joined hands trembling with devotion. The Prime Minister called the sacred flag a symbol of India's cultural revival. He said that the flag embodies faith, valor, and identity.
ये धर्म ध्वजा केवल एक ध्वजा नहीं, ये भारतीय सभ्यता के पुनर्जागरण का ध्वज है। हर राम भक्त के हृदय में अद्वितीय संतोष है, असीम कृतज्ञता है, अपार अलौकिक आनंद है। सदियों के घाव भर रहे हैं।
The saffron flag flutters high above Ayodhya, a beacon of devotion and resilience. Today's centuries of faith find their fulfillment, and not just a city, but entire nation stands united in pride, hope, and renewal. With God of Savant and Samarth Shivastav in Ayodhya, Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining us on this broadcast now is author Amish Tripathi on what we've just witnessed in Ayodhya with the Dhwaja Rohan ceremony. Amish, thank you very much for your time, for joining us here in India Today. I'm sure you've seen the images that have just come in of Ayodhya, of that historic ceremony. And the Prime Minister in his speech says that this is a cultural revival for Bharat. Do you think so? Do you think that this Dhwaja Rohan ceremony that everyone's been talking about actually reflects a cultural reset of sorts?
I would agree with the Prime Minister. Look, the temple has been completed today because the Dhwaj has been raised, the Dharma Dwaj has been raised. This has happened very rarely in history, where an ancient culture, an ancient Murti Puja, idol worshipping, nature worshipping, goddess worshipping culture has lost its worship place to an invader, to a foreign invader, and has recovered it and rebuilt it once again. What happened in India happened in many other parts of the world. The Greco-Roman culture, the pharaonic Egyptians, they were all killed, massacred out of existence. We are still here. After 1,000 years of invasions, we have recovered, we have revived. And to me, the flag itself is symbolic of our cultural memory, because that is the mark, the Dhwaj of the Ayodhya kingdom, of the Ayodhya empire of King Dashrath. This was, I mean, of course, the Om symbol everyone knows, the sun everyone knows, the Ikshvaku dynasty, they were Suryavanshis. But even the Kovidara tree out there. Now, this tree has been mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana. There are 3 Ramayans credited to Valmiki ji. Valmiki Ramayana, Ananda Ramayana, and the Adbhut Ramayana. The Kovidara tree was mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana, from what I recall, what I read. But many of the later versions of the Ramayana, actually this tree is not mentioned. Was the memory forgotten, right? And if you think about it, the revival of that Dhwaj itself today is almost like civilizational stubbornness. We will not forget. We revived a symbol that comes from the Valmiki Ramayana days, which was forgotten even in the later Ramayans, perhaps due to the invasions. I don't know why it was forgotten. But think about the symbolic meaning of that flag itself. It shows our civilizational memory.
What do you think has made this kind of a revival possible? You see it actually globally now. There's almost a global shift back to roots, back to our traditions. Many would say it's a welcome change that today people know a whole lot more about our traditions than previously, than before. There's a whole lot of conversation about it. What do you think has sparked that?
Akshita, you make a good, this is a good question. And I think there is a global change that's happening. There was a culture that was dominant for the last 2-3 centuries, which was the Western culture. And they impacted everyone, right? Across the world, not just India, across the world. Now, some civilizations, some countries reacted to their losing to the Western culture by becoming even more Western. Look at Turkey, what Kemal Ataturk did to Turkey. Abolished the caliphate and made Turkey completely Western. Look at what China tried to do with the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward. Because Marxism is also a Western philosophy, right? And the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution in the 60s and 70s, China tried to wipe out its own by themselves. They tried to wipe out their own traditional culture, because they had that attitude. Remember the song from the 60s, Chodo Kal Ki Baatein, Kal Ki Baat Purani, and the Chinese were in effect kind of following that approach. Look at what India has done. We have modernized, but we've not westernized, right? And it's not always a perfect balance to strike. Often in the last 2 centuries, it has almost been a choice. Like if you want to modernize, you have to westernise, right? Or the solution has been the other extreme, like the radical Islamists. Don't modernize, go back, 1,000 years. That's also not wise either, because you're not competitive today then. How do you find a mix of both where you can modernize but not westernize? That's exactly what India is doing. This temple is symbolic of that. I told you about the flag, but think about the technologies used to build this temple, what L&T used. It was completely modern technology, right? It's a mix of the best of modernization and keeping our cultural symbols alive.
I think bringing it down to the core of celebrating our traditions, our culture, blending it with modernity, I think that's where our strength lies. And hopefully we're recognizing that also now. Another aspect through the course of this coverage that really shone through, Amish, is, the fact that we're going back to the times of celebrating Ayodhya, of celebrating the Ram Janmabhoomi. In our midst, what Ayodhya was is what it's becoming today.
No, true. And with this, we must try and revive what Lord Ram would have expected of us, what Ram Rajya should be. For example, Lord Ram was very inclusive. Look at his relations with Nishad Raj. Look at how he treated Shabarima, right? He was very inclusive. We should be that way as well. And again, I like the fact that when this temple, when the first Shilanyas was done, they had a Dalit Hindu do the Shilanyas, Chopalji, as you know. And this to me, was in a way good. It was, in fact, in every way good because it reformed something that needed reforming, and yet keeping the best of the old as well. And this is the balance that we should strike. And I would argue that in this temple, we must, not just include and invite Hindus of all castes. And as you can see with the Sapta temples that have also been set up, but we should also invite all other dharmic religions, Buddhists, Jain, Sikhs. We must invite Indian Muslims, Indian Christians as well. Lord Ram belongs to everyone. As K.K. Mohammed Saab had said so beautifully, the brilliant archaeologist, that Babur was a foreigner. This was an Indian foreigner fight. And we have got our place of worship back. We've got Lord Ram's birthplace back from what was done by a foreigner. And we must include all Indians and invite them to the temple. Come pray there, come honor Lord Ram.
That's a beautiful message. But since you've spoken of that, there's one particular line of discourse that, look, this isn't a civilizational shift. This isn't a civilizational change that we're witnessing, but rather one focused on one religion. What do you say to that? That this is about Hinduism, nothing beyond?
Is Lord Ram Hindu? Of course. He is a Hindu god. Is the temple, Hindu place? Yes, of course it is. But do we discriminate and not allow other people to come? No, of course not. We want them to come. And we want them to, because Lord Ram belongs to all of us. Just like yoga, of course, has Hindu Buddhist roots. That doesn't mean that we insist that you have to convert to Hinduism, to practice yoga. Yoga is good for you, do it. But of course it has Hindu Buddhist roots. It's the same thing, I would argue, that for Indians of all communities, all regions, Lord Ram had said so beautifully in the Ramcharitmanas, Purush Napunsak Nari va Jeeva Charachar Koi, Sarva Bhav Bhaja Kapat Taji Mohi Param Priya Soy. Any man, any woman, any transgender, any living being, any plant, any animal, give up deceit, love each other, come to me, you're my people. What can be a more inclusive statement than that? Lord Ram said that.
The idea of having, the perfect human, of the ideal man, I think that transcends any religious thought. Amish, thank you very much for your time, for joining us here on India Today.
Thank you, and Jai Shri Ram.